I feel like that's why you see these like Zach Bryan characters and stuff like that working the way they do. There's an element to like, well, those recordings don't sound very good, but that's not what people are looking for. You know, they're looking for like a real heart on your sleeve kind of thing. I think, but I have kids, you know, it's like when a teenage emotion of love is more powerful than anything we'll ever feel. We call it puppy love or whatever it is. It's like we like degrade it in a way, but the feeling in your body of that is like will never match again, right? It feels like that. But then as you get older, some of those feelings come up in regret or guilt, mistakes, or shame, or all like it comes in different ways. It seems like, and that is those are real heavy, you know. So I try to take that feeling and then put words that would describe the feeling more than the actual situation, if that makes sense. And so. Yeah, that's the way I look at it. So sometimes it might be, this is exactly what my mind is thinking right now. You know, like in a counseling session, you might write down, some people ask you to write down, like, what are the voices in your head saying? I'll try to like give a voice to that before I'm like rationalizing all the things I know, how to fix it, you know, like, oh, I know that's not true and this is not true. But these sort of core beliefs or those kind of things, like, I feel like they sneak their way in. And that song's like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's a mix of like, I got friends that I should call, but I don't make the time for them. It's like, that's true. I'm the worst.
Can I guess your negative core belief?
Okay.
That you're not good enough.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And I have that, you know, I have a unique, it's not unique, but a couple of driving factors. The fact like I grew up very conservative Christian preacher, fundamentalist kind of. I grew up in the 80s, you know, which was a time like their hype time for that. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And so then you don't, all the things you're not supposed to do. If you do those things, you're bad.
Yeah, you're like a church kid and everything's about sin management.
Right. Don't want to be like,
I grew up
stuck somewhere. Yeah, it's like, well, like I did it, now am I going to go to hell now? You know, all that was was really baked in. Not that there's completely everything wrong with that to me,
but it
just
also
like,
makes it a little more exciting when you're sinning.
Right. It does. Surely does. But then, you know, I have abuse in my early, you know, pre-10. And so you like that stuff, you put the combinations of those core beliefs were pretty strong.
Yeah.
You know, and it got to where I didn't express that to many people. It's like probably the thing that breaks my heart the most about being a parent is the idea that they wouldn't tell you when they're struggling. And you're constantly trying to tell them that they can, and you can see them battling with being able to do it. You know, it's just like, and so I think for me, I didn't have that. I didn't do that well, and I didn't have that for whatever, you know, list of reasons. So music to me, the lyric thing probably is therapeutic in that way. It's like, these are all the things I wanted to say then. These are the feelings I had. If I would have been open, this was what I would have said, you know? So I draw on that, I think, a lot with songs.
I've heard you talk about therapy in the past, and I'm a big proponent of it, and I've done a lot of it. Do you feel like going back, you had to kind of like readdress all that childhood trauma and then like rework through it and then kind of rediscover your self-identity and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think, yes, I do. And I think the thing, you know, at least the way it's been for me is it's like, even after I probably 15 years ago, the first time I like actually did that, went through. And then this is last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, I went again and did sort of like a timeline thing again of like every year of my life and like wrote down all these. And so, and it's incredibly helpful. And you can see I drew out like on this wall, drew like, you know, the timeline of your life and then the things that you struggled with. You know, for me, whatever, alcohol, all that stuff, like, you know, depression, all that anxieties, like, you make these like graphs and you realize like, oh, obviously they're all dipping in the same place. You know what I mean? It's like, and when you can see it out there, you go, whoa, this is, and I'll just say like, you know, I'm 45 and that it was as if I was learning it for the first time, even though I have a lot of tools to deal with that stuff, you know? So I think we named the new record, The Long Surrender. And the idea of that is, I think it's something continuous. You know what I mean? I think we've always in like my sort of faith idea of that has always been like this daily laying down your life thing. There's like context for that. I think in terms of therapy, sometimes it's like, oh, I'll just get better. You know what I'll do is like, I wish they'd tell you at the beginning, like, hey, nobody else is going to change. You know what I mean? They should just tell you that the very like first minute, you know, like, hey, the world's going to look pretty much the same. So how you look at it, you know, is what we're working at here. And I do think that's like a lifelong thing, at least has been for me.
Yeah. If you're around Music Row, you've probably heard of Studio Bank or know someone that bangs with them. And there's a reason for that. They set out to rethink the typical experience, put people at the center of it, infuse innovative technology with genuine hospitality. Their whole idea is to be uncommonly modern and surprisingly human. That's a big part of why I'm proud to partner with them. They do not make you feel like a number. You get real people, real support, and a team that actually cares about what you're building, whether that's your business, your family, or your future. They also offer immediate ATM fee reversal at any ATM machine in the entire world. That's why a lot of my friends that are on the road bank with them. Visit studiobank.com or call 615-338-9998. Let them know Stephan Hogan sent you and see how Studio Bank can serve you today. Studio Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Now my focus is a lot less on what the audience thinks. Not that I don't want to put on the best show I can or those kind of, you know what I mean? Or that I don't want it to be meaningful, because I do. But I've just found like my experience is really all I have as a writer and performer. And so I think growing up as a preacher's kid, you already have that of like, well, you better behave because you're representing this whole thing and it's all going to crumble. If I would say we had some feeling of that. And as like crazy as that is to think you're some representative of that, you know, we definitely had it. And I think we fought it in every way because it was like, well, we want to be, you know, good guys and good people. And, you know, we want to talk about God, but we don't want to be in this category of this. Like, we don't want that to be the reason that we're selling things, or we don't want it to be the like pure motivation.
Yeah. You don't want to be the Christian band.
Yeah. I mean, just the truth is like, you know, any sort of specific genre that's really limited like that. Like even if country music gets to where like it's got to have this or this, like it starts to suck. It just that's and I think I've always been aware of that. Of like, if I feel like everybody, you know, commercialism really with music is really scary because everyone's making music now. It seems like not everyone, but a lot of people make music for the marketing arm that's going to help sell it. So let's say it's like, oh, it's this TikTok music or it's radio music or it's whatever, you know, like it's got to be viral this way, or it's got to be Americana. It's got to be hip enough to get on this race. It's got to be, can't be this. It can't, you know, it's like everything is sort of through a filter of that. And I just have never liked that part. So I think that's probably the rebellious part in me, was always like, I just don't want to be classified as that. But then I think less about that now. It's much more about like what's meaningful to me, you know. I mean, this new record we're working on is probably like the most gospel record, you know, just because I feel like I'm at midlife in a lot of ways, and I had a crazy last 4 or 5 months where just like a lot of personal things are really tough, and it just makes you look at your priorities in a different way. I was like, I had to write a list for myself. These are things that are true. You know what I mean? I'm looking at it every morning. You know, and at the top of my list is like, God loves you, therefore you're valuable. Like that's, hey, right? It's fighting that thing you're saying, I'm bad or I'm not good enough or whatever those core beliefs are. So to me, like, I didn't set out to do it, but I wrote a record that was really a reminder of that, what it takes for me to remember that. Like what idols kind of I need in my life, what drivers for marketing or all those things need to be out of the way. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of a sweet record also, not intentionally, just like, I mean, just so much life change happened in the last 4 or 5 months.
Do you think that it's grown you?
Oh, huge. Yeah. I mean, I think, and at the same time, like the goal is weakness, you know, like, so there's an element to that where I'm like, oh, you know, how does this look? Yes, I've grown in weakness. I think that understanding of like, man, I just can't do this you know, by myself. And how I've been trying to do it and is killing me, and it still isn't working. You know, it's like, so I think there's something really, I think I love that about AA as an example. I just think like the idea of like, I can't do this by myself. Like, it's just, let's just admit this. We got problems, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that's the beginning of whatever growth there's going to be, you know?
Yeah.
So I'm very happy right now. Very like, on the road to somewhere that feels really good. So it's impossible, I guess, to go back to your question. It's like impossible for me right now to like think about where I'm aiming it. Cause like I don't feel in charge of it.
That's a good place to be.
Yeah.
Cause you're not.
No, that's right. Exactly. Exactly. I think a lot of, you know, you spend a lot of time trying to meld your career and how you want it to go. It's like, it's when I look back at that, most of that's been a waste.
Yeah.
You know,
that's the tendency I think that we all face is any person of faith. It's like the holding on and then the surrendering, and they juxtapose you. It's this big duality. And it's like, all right, I want to surrender to God and like trust you. And then there's like this other side where you're like taking control again. And you're like, oh shoot.
Yeah, I mean, it happens just 37 times a day for me.
Yeah, me
so
too,
it's like,
man.
I met a guy a long time ago, a counselor guy. He's like, when I meet with bands, they're one of two. They're either looking forward or looking backwards. Which one are you? And so that feels really nice to kind of feel like, you know what, there's so much pressure being in a band for 20 something years. And we're talking about the Eagles or whatever. It's like, you cannot, it's really hard to think about the new music without thinking about, well, is this better than that song we did 15 years ago? Is this like that record that everybody likes, you know? And it's like, it's poisonous to me. It's really like toxic to think that way, because you can't do anything new unless you blow up all that stuff, you know?
Yeah. That can't be your metric.
Yeah.
Those are all just chapters in the book.
Yeah, totally. And for better or worse.
Yeah.
But you just can't be that age and that going through those experiences now, 15. Like, I mean, I'll tell people all the time, like, I can love that stuff from afar, the same way other people love it. But I can't like relate to that person hardly at all. You know, it's like most of us can look back 20 years and go like, what was I thinking? you know what I mean? Not even a negative judgmental way, just more like I'm so different now. Life has changed so much. I couldn't possibly have penned that, you know, again. And I think when you start to do that, it does feel a little bit like you're covering yourself in some way.
I think there's a maturity though to the lyric, like Mama Loves Me. There's just such a maturity in that. Alex Heike, the founder of Sound Royalties and a friend of mine, gave me a piece of advice that I'm never going to forget. He said, first decide what is the right move for your career and then figure out how to fund it. Sound Royalties helps artists, they help writers, they help producers, they help YouTubers and other people that earn royalties figure out how to access capital without having to sell their catalogs, give up ownership, or their copyrights. Their funding is completely based on your royalty income, not your credit score. There's no personal guarantees. Go to soundroyalties.com/Stephan Hogan Podcast, STEPHAN Hogan Podcast, for a complimentary royalty analysis and free income forecasting. Fill out the form and a royalty specialist is going to hit you up within 1 business day. Or you can also click the link in the description below. So first decide what the right move is for your career, then figure out how to fund it. I heard you say that you wouldn't be doing it if you didn't love it because it's so hard.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
And what's the so hard part?
I think one is, you know, it's a business without a scoreboard. That is a very difficult thing to do for most people.
What do you mean by that?
Just, you know, you can arbitrarily pick one. You can say, oh, how many records we sell or whatever it is, but how many tickets we sold or whatever. But all of us know the best music, the most meaningful music is not necessarily the most successful. You know what I mean? It's just not that. And that's always never been a part of my thing. It's like, oh, you know, success is world domination. It's like the third house or whatever. Like none of that has ever taken any weight for me. So I think having it be a career when it really feels like something soulful at the core is tough because they have to interact. You know, at some point it's like, I just can't tour for free forever, you know? And so I think that's one of the hard things is trying to find some balance there that you feel okay about, you know, that you feel, you know, convicted about. And then the other thing now I think is, you know, I quit drinking. There's a reason people do that when they're on tour. It's like, it's a distraction from the boredom, you know, like at this point I'm missing my kid's football game, you know, because I'm in wherever. Nothing against, I mean, I'm in Des Moines on a Saturday and I don't play until 8:00 tonight, but I'm just there on the bus. You know what I mean? And there's only so many, I mean, people want to make it like sort of magic, but the truth is, like, I don't even drink coffee really. It's like, so people go to a coffee shop or they go vinyl shopping or they go, it's like, I like to play golf. So that's a good kind of, you know, distraction for me. I get outside and stuff, but there's just a lot of time. Anytime my wife comes out, she's like, this is crazy, you know, and I wake up early. So I'm first guy up on the bus most of the time. So I'm walking around the venue at 7, nothing's loaded in. And it's an amphitheater outside of town, you know? So I think there's a battle with that, you know, at my age where it's like, man, I really want to be around my kids and my wife more. So that's another thing. You got to balance that. It's like, oh, this is a job for one. I still love playing the shows. I mean, there's nothing about it. I would do that. Honestly, I would do the show part for free. And what I'm getting paid for is being there, being away from home and all the travel and all the craziness, you know, so that to me is the hard part. And if you don't love the music you're making enough, like, I just don't relate to the idea. Like it's, I don't care what kind of money it is or what kind of status it is or whatever. It's not enough. If a kid realizes their parent doesn't enjoy life, they're not going to listen to them. Right. That's just the way. So to me, there's an element of like, you got to keep living your life. You can't just live it for the kid, you know, and their experiences. Like, I think to be trustworthy, you need to show that you're doing it well.
Yeah, because you're setting that example for the boys.
Yeah.
Like, oh, dad's going after what he believes in.
What he likes. And they come out. I mean, it's the best. Like my studio's at the house, but it's separated. So they don't come out much, which is nice, but they do occasionally. The 5-year-old was out there playing drums with my demo this morning, you know, just like it's, they see that. They kind of see that's dad's way of expressing himself and really getting into the weeds with stuff. And like, maybe I can do that with other things, you know?
Essentially, as a musician, you're an entrepreneur because you have to kind of like get your butt out of bed and decide, I'm going to go walk over to this studio and work. Yeah. And there's going to be times when you don't want to do it.
Sure.
Like,
it's interesting.
Do you just always want to do it?
Almost.
Wow.
Yeah. The making of the music, I do. You know, if it's not if I don't get anything those first couple of hours, like, then I can walk away. It's not like that, but I do. It's probably the thing I enjoy most, you know, as a hobby, is that part. And I do look at it like that. Like, I get in there, I'm just dreaming stuff. I'm not trying to think about, it's got to make a record. It's got to be, you know, I've got to stand up something. It's like, this is just fun. So that part's easy for me. The hard part is, you know, all the business side of the thing. You know, it's just like, I've gotten to where I'm better, but I used to kind of like every time the manager called, I answered. You know, and then there's 30 minutes. Like, I'm out now, my mind is in a totally different place, and coming back is just so hard. So I think doing that, like being a little bit more reasonable also, like, we've been doing this long enough. Like, we've made huge mistakes even when we were working hard, and you look back, it's like, that felt like the end of the world, and it really wasn't. You know what I mean? And so having some perspective on that's helped me, I think, just take this stuff less seriously. Like, if it's meant to happen, it's supposed to happen. I mean, I played college football, so like, when I got into music, I was bringing that sort of energy, which is not the right kind of energy. It's too much, you know? And so I think I've, like, over the years tried to back away from that a little bit. I can drive the guys in the band crazy in terms of the work ethic part. Yeah. But you got to know why it is you're working, what you're working at, you know, what it is you want. And I think that's a place I'm in now. It's just like trying to figure that out on a daily basis, you know? Yeah.
Because you're really the leader.
Yeah. At this point, for sure.
And I think that that had to probably be something that was developed over time too. Because I've never been in a band. I never wanted to be in a band because I'm a control freak.
Yeah.
And I kind of have like this alpha, like I'm like competitive and I don't want people telling me what to do. Do you feel like that was in you and eventually it was like, yo, someone's got to drive the ship? I watched the Beatles thing with Paul McCartney and all those guys sitting around, and without their manager, no one was really like taking charge.
Yeah.
And obviously you're the one that's the driver behind the machine now.
I think I always was, like people don't know this, but it's like I started the band, like my brother wasn't in the band at the beginning. I started it with a drummer in college.
The word countrypolitan comes from a real era in country music when Nashville took country music and made it elegant. Strings, background vocals, orchestra. It was country music with polish. Think Patsy Cline, Glenn Campbell, Tammy Wynette, George Jones, Charlie Pride. Songs that still had the ache and honesty of country, but dressed up with style. And that is exactly what this hotel feels like. The kind of place where every detail's been thought through. The scent when you walk in, the music, the clothes they carry, the textures, the rooms, the coffee cups, the way everything feels curated without feeling fake. So you feel the history immediately, but unlike staying right in the middle of Broadway, it feels tucked away, it feels calm, it feels like you found something. And that's honestly why I love it. It's where I go when I want to get away, think, slow down, have a restful time without technology. And when you're ready, the Ryman and Broadway are about a 4-minute walk. The Countrypolitan Hotel. Stay in the story.
I spent all of college, researching the right PA to get to put in our trailer so we could play shows by ourselves. I like the sort of problem solving in that way. And so I always liked, I was tour managing the band essentially for the first, 5 to 10 years where doing the budgets for the lighting and all this stuff and trying to find I just got into that pretty heavily. And so I think that came naturally, almost the opposite to me of what real leadership is finding out everybody needs to want to be there. What's their driver? What's their why? And trying to encourage and sort of hold them to that. You know what I mean? Try to, in the way that because each guy's different. I feel like that with 3 kids too. You have that sort of what motivates the 3? Or it's completely different. Either living in the same house, but one, whatever, it's candy, one of it's discipline, one of it's some, so I think that's the thing I've tried to learn and gotten better at over the years, but I'm still, I'll find myself in that hot-headed place a little bit still. But 15 years ago, I was a complete, do not get in my way, basically. And I look back at that really embarrassed about how I acted a lot because I looked at everybody as this is the reason my dream's not coming true. It's you, because you didn't turn this mic on and you didn't get this guitar in tune. You didn't which is just a really horrible place to be, as far as you know what I mean? Maybe in the military that works. I don't know, but it doesn't work. It doesn't work in music.
It works when it's all hired guns, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah. Need to Breathe had this history of these albums coming out at certain times in your career where things are happening or you have this anticipation. The Outsiders was our first record that really connected with people. And I remember that was after kind of a failure of a record, at least that we saw as a failure. And the only conversation was hopefully people pass this record around. That was we have to make something that's word of mouth because we just don't know where this goes or how it fits, I'm hesitant even now where the label calls we should do this kind of press or this kind of, I'm I don't know, this thing needs to have traction to me. People have to find this in a lot of ways organically and I feel having conversations like this help, but in terms of a little soundbite of it's it's not gonna really tell a story of a record like this,
Yeah.
And so I still trust that really great stuff finds a way out there. So in terms of the country thing, I think in the last several records we've been much more open to that, and obviously country has also opened up to people like us. So.
And Dave Cobb too.
Yeah.
Did you work with him for the whole record?
Yeah.
How was it working with him, man? Because he's for people listening that don't know, he's done all the Jason Isbell, Stapleton, Sturgill,
It's
all these great records of artists that we all love and kind of look up to that are kind of off left of center, I'll say.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, he's an old school producer in that way. Like he really wants a live take. He wants it immediate. He works very fast. I think, my takeaway, he's great at what he does, obviously, for a reason. It's like he can hear a song and immediately go, this rhythm, that sounds like other things that want to do this. Let's not do that. He's got great references for old school records that you're like, oh, this live record from whenever, from the 70s, like this way they did this drum in this one spot, it's stuff like that. So it is fun and inspired. To me, the thing that was like the most, there was a list of things. I'm not boiling it down to this, but to me, he had a lot of confidence in me, and I don't know if I'm really used to that. And that was like, I think of that. I've never worked with Rick Rubin. I think of that as that kind of process, of like I wrote 3 or 4 songs the morning that we were working in the studio, and we only had enough days to do the songs we were doing, and I would play him a little bit, and he'd be like, dude, we're doing that today. Finish lyric right now. And it just, that gives you this feeling like, yeah, I was feeling this too. Like I woke up this morning, this thing just was a gift to me. And the fact that he's not scared of it, and he's more like, let's pour into those things that feel right now. I think that will play the most probably as I look back on the record. Cause it's partly the sounds and this and that, but like,
it kind of gives me goosebumps, man.
Yeah.
It gives me goosebumps. I don't know why. I think it's because first off, you said he believed in you. So like, knowing your negative core belief is that you're not good enough. When you have someone that gives you words of affirmation and that believes in you, and you feel like, because I struggle with the same thing. Like mine is that I'm a failure and I'm not good enough.
Yeah.
I think it's also what might drive us, maybe.
Sure. Yeah, no doubt.
But to have someone in your corner, like I almost need someone to tell me I'm doing a good job, because in my own mind, I'm like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah.
So like a producer like Dave, and you mentioned Rick Rubin, who I feel like is the same, where there's no bad idea. And he's always like, think of the audience last.
Yeah.
Like, what's best for this song? Do the song. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And he's just organic, man. And there's just this like,
I think, it's powerful because doing music for a long time, I've always said like bands most of the time get worse. It's because they learn too much. And it's also because they have, like when you're 20 and making a record, you think it has the potential to be the biggest thing in the world. That's the way, as dumb as that is, right? Like, or unlikely as that is, there's just a pure ignorance to the process of like, this could be, that kind of, whereas like, it's, even though you're trying to like, obviously try to make that happen in the studio now, you have less of a feeling like that. The truth is like, I know this is going to take a lot to get to this and to this, it's like, and I'm hopefully this means something to some people, and hopefully I get to play this more, you know what I mean? But the idea, so that, I think that hopefulness is tricky.
Yeah.
And I think somebody like that, and also like, I want to be a singer, that's like no secret. It's just like, I mean, everybody wants to be a singer, but you know what I mean? I always saw myself as like, man, I really want to be in the class with like the people think, beyond just like the chops and all that, but just like the emotional, I want people to feel something when I sing. And I think that's always,
you don't got to worry about that, homie.
Yeah. He's worked with some of my favorites, I mean, Stapleton, but in my opinion, is just like,
I thought of you, Chris Stapleton, and Dave Grohl.
Okay. I'll take that anywhere in the conversation. Yeah.
I was like, you're all like tube amps.
Yeah.
And if you drive them, they'll break up.
Yeah. That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. He just was I thought, like one of the songs we cut, I went out and he was like, don't sing too much. You're going to wear it out. And like, whatever, all this. And we cut it in the first take or two. And he was like, and whether he's like building me up or whatever, it just felt amazing to me. He's like, Barry, you don't understand. That's 1% stuff. People don't do that. They don't go out there and sing like you just sang in a whatever. And I just was like, man, it just, and to me, it didn't make you, oh, well, I'm so great. Like it makes me drive like, this lyric has to be this, and tomorrow I got to be better. So anyway, I think that's a little bit of magic sauce to me of those records. And you could look at all those and go like, man, those guys make incredibly good records that did not have perfect genres, right? They found their audience because they were great, not because, it was like, it's the next big whatever thing in this sort of world,
Yeah, it's really undeniable. But most careers don't last like yours either.
Yeah. I'm thankful for that. I mean, obviously, and we don't take it for granted either. It's like, there's so many bands that we came up with that obviously are gone now. And there's bands that made it in the middle of our career and are gone now,
Yeah.
And so I do think like if I credit that to something, we always have tried to make meaningful music, and I think you could still have an audience where if you polled, 10,000 people at Red Rocks or whatever, like their favorite songs would be so broad. As opposed to like, obviously you have these 2 or 3 big hits or whatever. I mean, you were saying it's like some of the commercially, some of our like softer stuff is like what really drove on streaming. And I don't know if it's because people listen at their campfire or whatever it is. But when I talk to fans, that's not necessarily their favorite song. They're not waiting to hear the one that's the biggest. They want the B-side on the 3rd record or whatever it is because it meant something to them in their life at that moment. So I think that if there is like a, formula, which that doesn't say there is, but just I think if there is a thing about longevity, I do think, if you're not going to be the Eagles and have every song that's like these massive number ones, then having a connection with the audience in like a real way, where they feel like they can trust you when you put a new record out, and they're having a conversation that's deeper than just like, walked up to them on the street. You're having you have a relationship, I guess, and that's what it feels like with our audience.
What would you say to young artists now? I mean, the industry's changed dramatically since you got into it. And you've ridden all the waves probably through change in industry and record sales and all that stuff. But I'm just curious if there's any, if any, because some people don't have advice. Because it's so tricky and so TikTok driven and so confusing, but then so open at the same time to like the Red Clay Strays.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
what's your advice to like
even with Brandon as a good example, like, he was a big fan of Need to Breathe for a long time, which is why like we met originally when he was in a bar band, and so I do feel this a little bit of like, hey man, if there's anything, like I've been through a lot of this stuff you're going through. It's the first time you're selling out all these places and, everybody's telling you you're great. And, and they're really like, they have such a great foundation as people. But all I told him was like, don't listen to everybody else. I was like, you've gotten here by trying to be the essence of yourself. You're trying to write things that you feel. And the second that you're being around people and they're telling, well, if you worked with this guy, if you did this, if you had, whatever, it's you, not only is it probably not going to work, it's the end of your sort of reliance on what it is that you have. You start trying to make it bigger than, you look at like, I don't know, I've always thought like the Ed Sheeran thing, like I wouldn't say I'm like the biggest Ed Sheeran fan or anything, but what I am a fan of is like, he like decided he was going to do it a certain way. He just did it. And no matter how big it got, it was never like, okay, now I'm going to start playing a nice guitar. Like, you know what I mean? At some point, I think we, just because I feel that sort of pressure of like, well, we're getting to play this venue, we better have this kind of production or these kind of, so that's one of the things I would say. And the other thing I would say is like, a healthy life, is the only way to really be inspired. You can try to be inspired by other people. You can try to be about other people's stories. You can whatever. But if you don't have something to write about, really, that's your experience, your view of the world, then you don't really have it. That doesn't mean don't write in the other times. I always think of like I tell kids all the time, like write every day, because you need the tools when that thing does happen to you in life to be able to express it well. right? So all this is practice until the real like thing happens. So I don't agree with these people. Just wait for the inspiration. It's like, well, then you won't know how to get it across. You know, it's like that. You got to develop that muscle.
Mm-hmm.
But when it really does, and I think the only way to do that is being in connection with people. You know, so I think that's the first thing that happens when you make it. If you're a band like a Red Clay or whatever, it's like now we're gone 250 days a year. Now all this stuff is not reality. The way people treat us, they're telling us we're great all the time. No one tells us our breath stinks or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you've just
lost total connection with the world.
Yeah.
And I think you have to fight that really hard. And like a Springsteen to me is one guy, like just haven't met him a little bit. It's like, was somebody that did that well, probably better than sometimes than others or whatever. But you just see like that you can be that. You can be blue collar and a really big artist. You know, it can work. There's no need to be, there's no need to become at home what you are on stage.
Mm.
You don't have to do like that. Is not a way. It's not a good way forward. It will ultimately, you know, I think crush you.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. That's also something that I admire about Vince Gill because I've gotten to know him. And I asked him once, like, hey, like, why are you so like chill and humble? And he's like, because my parents would have whooped my ass
Totally.
if I wasn't that way. I thought it was interesting though, because there's a rarity in finding people that can really stay grounded, I guess, amidst being worshipped.
Yeah, and I can give this advice because I did not do a good job of that at certain periods in our career. There's no doubt. Like, you know, but not that it matters. But to me, like in those 20-something years, there's been lots of full years where I was a total wreck, like outside of myself completely. You know, I like to use the like shadow self, you know, real self kind of thing, like true self. It's like I was a shadow for, you know, half of my career. So,
what does that mean?
I think I was playing for all those things, all the like, what would be the motivator? It was to make it. It was to have respect from certain people. It was to make money, unlike my parents made, and you know what I mean? It was all anti something I didn't want to be. So I got to prove myself to be it, or else I'm not important, or don't have a gift, you know? So I think there was just lots of times where I gave into those, even when I didn't know I was doing it. You know what I mean? I just wasn't well enough as a person to do that. And because of it, there's been some like real crash into the wall moments. You know, I can kind of go back through my career and life and go like, man, boom, this was a reset moment. This was, you know, so, and it feels like that for me, you know, 4 or 5 months ago to me was like another one of those. Nothing happened the same way, or maybe it wasn't as bad. I wasn't in it, you know, whatever. But for me, like I felt that like you're not being true. And like, do you want to look back and, you know, the second half of life and go like, that's what I was? Do I want to show that to my kids? You know? So, yeah, that's where I am right now.
It's interesting. What you said, I think will resonate. And I think it'll resonate because I think a lot of people are driven by that. Like maybe they failed as a kid, or they never were picked for the all-star team, or they always lost the golf matches, or someone said they were ugly in their freshman year of high school and they had acne. I'm talking about myself.
Yeah.
And then I just felt like a failure and not good enough. And then that's the driving thing, is almost to like prove, like I grew up where my parents always fought about money and then they got divorced, you know?
Yeah.
It's like all those things you just said has also been the thing that drove me, or that might still drive me.
Yeah, yeah.
Do they still drive you? Or do you feel like you've done some therapy stuff where you're like, that can't be my driver?
Yeah, I think.
Because I'm curious, because I feel like, this is just me, I can cut this out. I just feel like I'm trying to prove myself to the world. And it's like, if I do that and get to that mountaintop, then I'll be okay, and then I'll feel good enough.
Yeah. I mean, this is like, the answer stinks because but in another way, I think it's real. It's just like, I think if I saw those things, those drivers or those insecurities or shame or whatever, all those things across the board of like things that are not helpful to me, probably in like a soundboard, you know what I mean? They all got faders.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, the goal to me is keeping those at 2. I don't think I can totally eliminate those things.
Can't hit
some
mute.
of them. Yeah, I wish I could, and maybe for a period of time you can or whatever. But just like we are human, I think that like my view of the world, may be different than whoever. But like my view of it and the way, like the reason the gospel thing to me is like good news is because we're all at baseline broken and it's not fixable on our own. Mm. So like the idea that there's this noise that's going on. And our sort of daily routine and recentering and, trust and our faith and the people that we love and all those like things, to me, are efforts to keep that stuff here in perspective. And so, yeah, I'm not like, I wouldn't say like I'm cured as a human.
No, dude,
but I would say
imperfect.
For sure that like right now those feel like at a low and manageable where I can sit with it enough to go, is this the kind of record we want to make? Yeah. Do we want to put it out in a hurry? Do we want to say it's going to be for this? Do we want to go do something that doesn't feel right? Do we want that's insincere? Do we want no? Like I would say right now that feels very clear to me and I'm thankful for that.
Yeah.
I think it's just so hard. Most people have a hard time answering if you ask them who they are, not answering in some sort of codependent way about, well, I'm this because I really want to improve these, impress these people. And I want to I'm this because, it's like, what do you like? Like what's really in there, because I think it's, I like college football as an example. Like I feel like some weird shame about saying on Saturday, if I can be at home for a Saturday football game on my own couch with people not talking, that's like, you know what I mean? That's gold to me. And that's one of those things you might go like, ooh, that guy's kind of a dork or whatever. It's like, but it's like, no, I really do love it. The other guys like, we'll watch a little bit. They're not like me. Yeah. So it's most musicians, we go, so you're not into ball sports, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you grew up in the South, man.
Yeah, I know. And I played, through college and all that. So
you can't not be a fan of college football.
Kind of into it.
Yeah. Dude, it's been really cool talking to you, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me.
Have you ever heard of men's clothier? Well, I never heard of it before, but it's basically a fancy way to say a men's clothing shop. There's not a lot of them. In fact, most of the shops I go to, especially with my wife, it's like the men's section is like 25% and it's 75% women's. Well, Simon Says Nashville has 11 brands. I'm wearing some of their stuff, and they've been providing clothing for the podcast. They have 11 brands that you can't get anywhere else. A lot of it's made in the United States, and it's just cool clothing. The fits are different than anything you'll ever wear, and Simon Says Nashville is run by this really cool girl, Stephanie, and she has dressed many big artists for album covers, for red carpets, Midland, Marcus King, the list goes on. And go see Stephanie at Simon Says Nashville, or you can go to simonsaysnashville.com, and they're also on Instagram. You could DM them, and they've got the coolest denim stuff. Like their denim collection is ridiculous. A lot of like salvaged Japanese denim, if you're into that stuff. I call it quiet luxury. Anyway, go tell them Stephan sent you.